Hi, this is Mark, and this is my journey through tarot. So today it's going to be Catherine Middleton, the Duchess of Cambridge, per request from Rosie. So thanks, Rosie. This was good. I did a little background study so we know a little bit about her before we start. So let's go. So paternal. 1949, the Duchess of Cambridge's father, Michael Middleton, is born. His forebears were from Leeds, Yorkshire. Her father's family has ties to British aristocracy and benefited financially from trust funds established over 100 years ago. 1926, her Middleton relatives were reported as having played host to British royalty. 1911, her paternal great-grandmother and a cousin, Baroness von Schunk, were described as landed gentry and invited to the coronation of King George V. Four successive generations of the Duchess's ancestors had lived at Potter Newton Hall Estate, the family seat, including the Duchess's great-grandmother. 1475 to 1520, other paternal ancestors were Sir Thomas Fairfax and his wife, who was a descendant of King Edward III. Maternally, 1955, Carol Goldsmith, a former flight dispatcher and flight attendant, that's her mother. Her maternal ancestors were considered working-class laborers and miners. 1731 to 1810, ancestors through her maternal line included Sir Thomas Conyers, the 9th Baronet, who was descendant of King... Now the Duchess. In 1982, Catherine Elizabeth Middleton was born at the Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading, or maybe it's Reading, on January 9. Her family would be considered as upper middle class. She's the eldest of three children, a sister, Pippa, and a brother, James. And Catherine grew up in the village of Chapel Row, part of Bucklebury, near Newbury, in the English county of Berkshire. Or is it Berkshire? You pick. In 1987, her parents founded Party Pieces, which is a privately held mail-order company that sells party supplies and decorations with an estimated worth of £30 million. Now, after her studies, Catherine took up a gap year studying at the British Institute of Florence in Italy and traveling to Chile to participate in a Raleigh International program. She worked as a deckhand at the port of Southampton in the summer preceding university, and she worked part-time as a waitress during her studies. So, in 2001, she met Prince William while they were students in residence at St. Salvator's Hall at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. 2002, she caught William's eye at a charity fashion show at the university where she appeared on stage wearing a see-through lace dress. 2003, the couple began dating during their second year. Middleton shared a flat with both William and two other friends. And then 2003 to 2005, they both resided at Balgrove House on the, this is a hard word for me, Strathtyrum Estate, with two roommates. 2005, Middleton graduated from the University of St. Andrews with an undergraduate master's in the history of art. And then 2006, in November, she worked part-time as an accessory buyer with the clothing chain Jigsaw. Later that year, she curated a photography exhibition to raise funds for UNICEF. Until 2011, she worked at the family business in the catalog design, production, marketing, and photography departments, and she launched the firm's junior brand for toddlers. Prior to marriage, she lived in an apartment owned by her parents in Chelsea, London, with her sister. The property had an estimated worth of £1 to £1.4 million. And in 2018, Catherine's personal total net worth was estimated at £5 to £7.3 million, most of which is from her parents' company. So let's see about the Duchess of Cambridge. So the Duchess of Cambridge, will she be queen? I'm going to use the Touchstone Tarot by Kat Black, an Australian artist. And what she does is, and look how amazing this box is, and just the whole presentation is nice. The cards have got this really great like gold foil floral, not a fleur-de-lis, but a floral design on the back. And the cards are really nice. But what this artist does is she takes digital pieces of many pieces of art. So each of the elements in here might be a digital piece of some other artwork. So this might be a collection of 5 or 6 or up to 12 different art pieces where she's taken what looks appropriate and worked it into this to become this image. So these cards are cool, but the question here is going to be, is Catherine going to be queen? So that would imply that something happens to cause her not to be queen, because that is the certain outcome if the monarchy survives and if everyone lives. So let's see. That can be kind of a dark question in a lot of ways, but we'll look at that. Thank you, Rosie, for asking that. So we'll mix these up and get to work on this question. You know, like I said, it implies lots of things. The least of which I would guess is that the monarchy doesn't survive in the way that it is right now. And that's a pretty strong thing to say, and especially if you call it the least of which, because the worst of which would be that something happens to Catherine so that she could not be the queen. So, interesting question. I really hadn't given it much thought, especially in this darker way, until this got asked. So, we'll see what comes of this when we ask this question. Will Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, will she become queen? Will Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, become queen? Will Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, become queen? Fell out of there. It's very interesting. They just popped out. I mean, I am a really bad shuffler of these cards, so I mean, whether I give it any significance, I don't know. But it is interesting that we have this question and the Queen of Swords just fell out of the deck like that. So that's a little inspiration there to get this going. So just flat out, will Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, become queen? Okay, we're going to take 6 cards and then another 4 at the end of the reading. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's right. These guys, I'm going to put you to the side because you have a job to do in just a couple of minutes here. So the question is an ominous one. Will Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, be queen? Signifier card for this is the Ace of Wands. And look at this, this angel carrying this Ace of Wands. I mean, it could remind you of Catherine. This angel, though, has kind of a smirkish look on her face. And that is a big one. You know, wands are all about motion and movement and perhaps even ideas, but making things happen. And this angel, this Ace of Wands, is dressed in this amazing red tunic, maybe you'd call it here, but very determined. And she's standing here with the castle in the background. That's the signifier, is the Ace of Wands. And I think that's a strong start. The challenge to the Ace of Wands then is the Four of Cups. And the Four of Cups is, you know, being offered something that you don't want. And this fella definitely has that presence about him, you know, not wanting that, almost smirking against it. So we have 2 kind of sarcastic faces so far in this reading for whether Catherine will become queen. And, you know, as a matter of fact, she does have a normal, when her face is just relaxed, she has a look that's a little bit like this. So that's the challenge, is being offered something that you don't want. So that's interesting. Let's leave it there and see if it makes a story. The base of this then is the emperor. And the emperor is who William will be, because at one time they part of their title was emperor or empress, but I'm not sure if they have any empires now. But I mean, that's the dude. You know, he's the guy. He's in charge. So the emperor is the base of the reading, and certainly whether Catherine becomes queen depends on whether William takes the highest spot. And it looks like it's going that way. In the recent past for this reading, then, is justice. So look at that. So justice. So this is weighing it all out and making sure that it balances correctly. And that's very interesting. So justice is in the past of this reading. And then up in the sky for this reading is the King of Swords. And remember, in the beginning, the Queen of Swords kind of fell out of the pack, and now we have the King of Swords up in the sky. So that's to be the very most. So who would that be except for her husband? So there we have that. The likely outcome for this first part of this pretty exciting Celtic cross is the Two of Swords. So this tells us, you know, it could go one of two ways. And you pick. Swords are usually truth, justice, health, rules. And this Two of Swords tells us that certainly it has to go one way or the other. And either way is a strong choice. So that's the likely outcome at that point. So we're going to drill down on it right now. The self of this question. Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, will she be queen? The self of this is the Knight of Coins. And so a knight is a strong figure in the court cards. And to be the Knight of Coins, I mean, that's some solid value. And if that's who she is right now, she is like a knight, just kind of standing back, waiting to be of assistance to the crown. And I would say, yeah, that seems appropriate for her. Then the environment that this knight is in is the Five of Wands. Again, perfectly reasonable to think of this. The Five of Wands is just, you know, a kerfuffle, a scuffle going on, ridiculous misunderstandings or struggles for all these different issues, but someone is standing here perfectly in charge and just letting these idiots go about their little scuffle in the background. So that's the environment. So is that Catherine just letting all the foolishness happen over her shoulder? So that's the environment that this Knight of Coins is, really bringing value to court. The hopes and the fears then is the Knight of Swords. And so the Knight of Swords is someone who is ready to do battle for some very valid cause. And the hopes and the fears. And I don't know, who would we think could be the Knight of Swords? Could this be Charles, the father, messing things up with his really kind of offbeat sort of ideas? That's what comes to mind for me, the Knight of Swords, because he's certainly not king yet. And then the likely outcome for all of this is the Two of Wands. And we start out, this is very interesting. So the Two of Wands speak to us about, you know, making plans for the future. And this lady is making plans. She really has a hold on the movement of this issue, and she's overlooking the world or her empire. And if you think about this, she started out as the Ace of Wands, and it looks like the same clothing as an old lady. She ends up being the Two of Wands, making plans for the future for her son, George. I think that's an amazing reading. So thank you so much, Rosie, for asking that question. I never would have thought of it. So yeah, that was an amazing reading. I wouldn't have thought to ask that question because it just seemed too obvious. But it was a very determined yes. The signifier card was this Two of Wands with this very self-assured woman dressed in that beautiful red covering, and then it ended up as, for me, after she's an old lady. So she not only becomes queen, she's queen for a long, long time. And I think it was, as the British would say, brilliant. So Well, this is Mark. This has been my journey through tarot. Thank you so much for coming along, and thank you, Rosie, for asking the question. And come back tomorrow because I'll be here. Ciao for now.